So Darkmane is definitely enjoying his nap this afternoon, and I don't blame him at all. It is nice and cool. There's a slight breeze where we are, but he's chosen a fairly sheltered spot with some brush around him, a tamboti thicket behind him, and he's nice and close to the dam. So he is very well set up for later on. When he starts moving, he'll probably end up going to have a drink and then moving off from there. You can see he's not dead asleep. He is actually still awake enough to be listening to the birds around him and just kind of checking to see that there isn't anything coming. We do have some guests joining us, so you might hear a vehicle in the background, although he does not seem to be bothered by that at all. He is very relaxed. I think he's also quite happy because today it's nice and cool. That means that there won't be as many flies around either. So you can see his tail is actually quite still for a sleeping lion. Normally you can see the tail flicking all the way up to knock the flies off of their sides. He's also not having to flick his ears or blink too much either, so it's probably the most restful sleep he's had in a while. He's also quite lucky because there is an open area close by next to the dam. And just like this morning, there'll be things like nyalas and impalas, possibly kudus, wildebeest coming down. He does look a bit too lazy to hunt right now, but if something presents itself, he might very well go for it. He's definitely watching a Nyala bull. I feel like he hasn't blinked in, as I said that, I was going to say hasn't blinked in the last minute. His face tells a story. Black nose and full of scars. Linda, yes, a lioness would be able to survive on her own. In fact, there have been quite a few lionesses that have split on their own throughout the history of the Sabi Sands, and even Djuma. And they actually survive perfectly fine on their own. They have cubs, they move around, they hunt successfully, and they raise their cubs. So it's definitely not a death sentence by any means. If a lioness gets separated from her pride, she is more than capable of surviving on her own. Probably got a slightly better chance than a male lion on his own, because females are less likely to be attacked by males. And at the same time, females are slightly better at hunting than males because they are a little bit smaller. Not because males don't hunt. Males definitely do hunt. They're just a lot bigger, so they're slower and they're easier to spot. So a lioness will be faster, she'll be a little bit sleeker and smaller, and so she's got a better chance of sneaking up to something and also covering the distance from the surprise to the attack. Imagine how strong he has to be able to climb onto the back of the buffalo and hang on and pull it down with his weight. Unbelievable. It's quite amazing to me that, you know, a big lion like him can weigh 250 kilograms, and yet, you know, they've become habituated. We can get so close to them and watch them moving around at their own pace. It's just unbelievable for such a big animal. You know, it would be a slightly different version on foot, but still, just to be able to sit in his presence is unreal. I couldn't ask for a better last night. It still amazes me how resilient these cats are. Denny, yes, I actually have seen a grown male lion without a mane. In fact, I have seen two. They were actually brothers, and they naturally had genes for smaller manes, but at the same time there was actually they had a very similar problem. Both of them, they had a hormonal imbalance, so they would never breed in their lifespans. They are still alive, I believe, but they won't breed in their lifetimes because unfortunately for them they had undescended testicles, so essentially they didn't drop. And so what happened is they ended up with a hormonal imbalance, and so there wasn't enough testosterone to be pushed to the mane to grow the mane, and so instead they've got very big bodies. They're much bigger than the average lion that I've seen, but they have no manes at all. They look like giant bus-sized lionesses. Unfortunately, something must have gone wrong and they both ended up with a problem with their hormones. Oh, I've just heard an African scops owl. That's my mom's favorite. I love that sound. I'm actually hearing something moving in the drainage line right next to him or right behind him. He heard it as well, but he doesn't seem to be too concerned. Going back to sleep. Big sigh.